Briefly then, the recap from the previous lesson. You were looking at the the two pictures of change in Britain between 1750 and 1890. From the rural picture of 1750 through to the far more industrialised and urban picture of 1890. So only 140 years separating the two, but students were asked then to analyse. Having colour-coded for the themes that they were looking at, they were expected to analyse the changes in each of those themes between them, and they were provided with a writing frame to make that possible. Okay, so there you go. There's our picture of 1750. Rural, low population, limited industrialisation, maybe the water wheel would be an example of industrialisation, some kind of transport. But by obviously all of this would have happened. When you recap on this, you may want to speculate as to how the scene would have changed if we move forward to today. That obviously may have been a conversation that may have already occurred, but the students can possibly even look out the window of the classroom and see, well, are our cities full of factories? Are they still full of housing? Has the transport changed? Are they as badly polluted? So we can now speculate and bring it up to the present day. And of course, in doing so, there's a lot of cross-curricular links there with geography. Moving on. So then you've got one of two quizzes that you can do as starters. So in this case, it's numbers 1 through to 12, true or false. You can ask the students to explain their answer using the word because. For some of them, one or two of them, all of them, it's up to you. They could even identify the ones that they may want to explain. And obviously in doing so, they will turn this response into a full analytical answer. So for example, railways, 1900, because the development of railways took place during the 19th century. Another extension question, would you have preferred to live in 1750 or 1900? And underneath, there's also the writing frame there as a prompt. Why did it change? So this will link into prior learning and prior understanding. Okay. All change then happens because of individuals. It is the individual who helps to make technology better and individuals who invent new machines and identify problems that need solving. When the government passes a law, it's based upon what an individual or the people think. So it's all people. History is the study of people. So in today's lesson, we're going to look at the role of the individual. How do those rare individuals shape their time? So as you can see here, we're going to find out who the key individuals were in this period, how long these individuals influenced history, and the kind of change that they brought about. You will become an expert on one of the individuals from 1750 to 1900 and complete an individual profile. And then working collectively and collaboratively, you're actually going to build up a profile on each of the four. All right. So the period covered by expansion, trade and industry covers a period in history when Britain was totally transformed and then went on to transform the world. And there's our timeline from 1750 up to... So the individuals, Edwin Chadwick, who the students probably won't have heard of. This is the man who completely reformed public health in the United Kingdom. Fortunately, he lived at a time when Britain had the money with which to do this, but this is the man who brought in the Public Health Acts, clean water, sewers, and working with engineers constructed these vast engineering achievements under our already existing cities that mean that we live longer, and that was the work of Edwin Chadwick. Secondly, George Stephenson, the man who invented the world's first practical steam train, the rocket, and led to a period of history called railway mania. And all modern transport really stems from the work that he did, because even the motor car is an attempt to outdo the train that George Stephenson invented. And of course today trains are even more popular today than they ever have been in their history. Jethro Tull, again a man very unlikely to have been heard of by the students. This is the man who invented the seed drill. So he invented a machine that would actually plant seeds at equidistant distances across a field, therefore meaning that farms could produce far more, because instead of throwing the corn and seed by hand, rather randomly, and having too much in one place and not enough in another, fields could be far more efficiently planted. Crops could increase more food produced, and obviously that would sustain a much, much bigger population, which is borne out by those two pictures of 1750 and 1890. And finally, Richard Arkwright. Richard Arkwright was the Bill Gates of his age, and Richard Arkwright effectively invented the world's first factories. He had a cotton spinning, wool-making industry that he inherited from his father, and he had all of his the ladies that he employed to spin wool. They were all working in their own little cottages all over Lancashire, and his idea was to bring them all together under one roof, and instead of having their spinning jenny, their spinning wheels powered by hand, he used water power and eventually steam power to power those machines, and he turned Britain into a massive cotton cloth spinning nation, which in turn was copied by everyone else, making other factories, and Britain got the idea that if we could make all of this cloth rather effectively and a huge profit, why not actually take over the countries that grew the cotton in the first place, which explains Britain's role in Egypt. So individually, you're going to interview an individual from the period. So each student, if that's done individually, is going to research each of the characters in turn and fill out one side of their sheet. Or if you're going to do this like as a jigsaw group, each group is allocated one figure that they're going to study in depth, and then after the allotted amount of time, they're going to split and reorganize themselves in order to gain an understanding of the other three individuals that they have not studied in depth. Okay? So the suggestion here is 20 minutes for the first part of the task to actually become an expert on your own character using the information sheet and then filling out one side of the A4 sheet. Okay, so this is the sheet that you will fill out for the one key individual that you're investigating. So you'll be an expert on this particular individual. So 20 minutes as guidance. Second task is when you then either research the other three characters or you split to work in different groups so you can all collaboratively share the information. And again, 20 minutes for that task. And on this part of the task, you're only going to fill out an outline on those individuals. So if, for example, you were the expert on Jethro Tull, you can put crosses in these three boxes because you've already done that work, and you have to get the outline information, either through your own research or working with another expert who has done that. So the children are going to have to make a point of trying to manage their time in order to find out information on all of them. Moving on, we can then do some extension work to pull this together, and this is to get the students thinking about the significance of the individual. Of those four men, who was the most significant? Maybe there's a fifth person that the students are aware of that they thought had a greater impact, and you've got here some options to suggest how they might choose to illustrate the significance of the individual.